Hey Riley Besties, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're well. Today is a really exciting video because I'm actually going to be doing a little bit of a different video. I'm going to be basically giving you guys so many of my book ideas because I have too many. So I'm just gonna, be talking about some random book ideas I literally just came up with just then, and also some books that some ideas I have on this list are kind of books I want to write but have never gotten around to ever writing them. So if you take any inspiration from this video, definitely do. I just am so excited to talk about these cool ideas. I literally have, I don't know, 20 of them. I don't know, it's a lot. But let's go ahead and get on to the writing episode. But before we do, just want to remind you guys that I have a podcast. Wait, yeah, you're on my you're on my podcast. Sorry, I have an Instagram. And I also have a Discord, so if you're on my YouTube channel, definitely go check the link in the description if you want to join my Discord or follow me on Instagram. Anyways, let's get on to the ideas. Okay, I'm just going to be reading them out and just seeing how we go. This is so exciting and just so fun being able to talk about all these interesting ideas, and they're kind of just prompts sort of things for you to maybe take or get inspired from. So let's get onto it. Okay, so the first book idea is a wholesome dragon trainer who lives in a wood in the woods with his wizard uncle. So I don't know. This is just a fun, I wasn't really sure about this book idea, what can be the main incident. But maybe the woods ends up getting caught on fire and then the dragons are in danger or something. Or maybe someone kidnaps his uncle, the dragon trainer's uncle or something like that, and then he needs to use his dragons to help find him or something like that. But yeah, I thought this was a really cool idea, really wholesome, very vibey in a way, where it's you can see the mushrooms and the dragons, especially with Fourth Wing, which is a very popular novel at the moment. But yeah, that's one of them. The second book idea is a sculptor who has the ability to sculpt ghosts, capturing their spirits. This seems really interesting, and I don't know, I was kind of really intrigued with this idea because I have written actually a short story which includes a sculptor, and I think sculptors as artists are so interesting, and the fact that I don't know, maybe they can see ghosts, this sculptor can see a ghost and sculpt the ghost and their story, but also capture them and harness them into the stone so that they kind of materialize into real life. And maybe that has a lot of, sorts of problems, or maybe she falls in love with one of them. I don't know, maybe they can talk to her. Cool, fun things. The sculptor can be a guy as well, but I just kind of always imagined a really cool woman sculptor. Anyways, that's that idea. Let's continue. The third book idea is a long lost and missing princess who was trapped in a mirror. I got this, and by the way, all these ideas are basically inspired by a board I have that's just random book ideas, and paintings and photos literally just inspire these, just like that. So I had a photo of a princess looking into the mirror. You can't see her face, but maybe she's trapped in the mirrors, and people think that she's lost when she's really just lost in her own castle. How cool would that be? And somehow she needs to get out, and maybe someone ends up helping her, or she actually gets transported to a new place. Maybe because she gets forgotten, she starts to disappear or something like that. Something, it has that sort of kingdom-esque vibe, but also a little bit of a mystery sort of thriller, oh, I don't know, but that's that. Next up, we have a boy who falls in love with a shadow. I was gonna say something to do with his own shadow, maybe he befriends his own shadow, because I'm really inspired by Peter Pan and his relationship with his shadow, and his shadow being a mother to him sort of thing. It's so interesting to research. I love Peter Pan, so maybe something like that, but maybe he falls in love with someone else's shadow, but not the person who casts the shadow. I don't know, just interesting thought like that. I don't know, it seems again that sort of vibe I love, my ghost story sort of novel, that sort of vibe is exactly what I love. So a lot of these ideas probably go with that, but I try to include the first one more foresty fantasy ones. So let's continue. Oh, this is more of a real dystopian sort of one. If you guys, I don't know if you guys, also this is a little bit of a tangent, if you haven't watched Love, Death and Robots on Netflix. It's such a good show. There's just like really random, like 20, even like 5 to 10 minute like episodes, which are so interesting. And this like gives the vibe. And I did get like a little bit inspired by like a few of the short films. It's so good. Watch it on Netflix. But this is where a pilot trainer crash lands when he finds a traitor sleeping in his cargo, or like some like a villain sort of, or like a random person who actually is like on the other side of the war or something, but they end up like having to, band together to get off the planet that they crash on, maybe, or like a desolate place, something like that. I don't know, it just seems so, no. You cannot hear what I just said. I'm just so excited. But that'll be so fun. I've always wanted to try like a sci-fi, more dystopian sort of book because it just seems so intriguing. Okay, let's continue. A boy who talks to crows and is able to communicate with crows. I have such an interesting short story, kind of similar to this, to do with crows and birds because I'm obsessed with birds. I used to only like draw birds when I was little. I just like draw so many birds, but also in a lot of my books, I think I've talked about this before, where the main character, at least a character or a sort of motif in the book, is something has to do with a bird, and that's in like all of my books basically. Somehow I always allude to a bird, so that's why I just love birds in general. If you didn't know, my favorite bird / kind of favorite animal is a pelican. I love pelicans. So yeah, that's that one. Okay, next up, a trained assassin is tasked with protecting a petty prince who turns out being an assassin himself. This is actually a book idea that I had a little bit while back, and a little photo just kind of sparked that. So I was kind of like, that seems so cool. Like imagine like this assassin who's like, and this is like in a cyberpunk sort of vibe where an assassin, is like what? I have to protect this petty stuck-up prince, but he does it for the money, and he ends up like having to protect him from like the assassins in the sort of city. And they kind of like band together maybe. I don't know, it just seems kind of intriguing. So that's that one. Next up, we have a rebellious witch who steals an ancient relic from her academy. This is actually, sorry, I keep playing with my fringe. This is actually a short story / book that I had a vlog on. I think I just randomly wrote like the first few chapters of this book and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna write it. But then I kind of like burnt out. But this was kind of like the premise of the story, where like a cool witch, literally, I think she kind of like puts a curse on, or like stealing the relic. It was like a book of curses. No, a book of spells that ended up becoming curses because she ended up writing her own spell, which turned into a curse, which cursed everyone to forget her name. But for some reason, one boy from the academy remembers her name. So that's kind of like where the story started. But I'm like, I don't know. It wasn't the most pressing sort of book idea that I had, but that's that. Ooh. Okay. Next up, we have a group of friends who get a group of friends who get sucked into a book in a forgotten school library. Ooh, this seems really fun. Like, or maybe they get like transported into like a series of books, or like different books, and they kind of meet each other at the end, and like they kind of I don't know, it seems cool, like when they intersect or something. But I don't know, I've always wanted to write or read a story where this happens, where like I can get sucked up into a book and like walk along its characters. I just think that would be so entertaining. Okay, next up we have a hooded maiden who steals the eyes of her captors. So maybe this maiden is like someone who attracts men, but she ends up stealing their eyes. I don't know. Seems like a very interesting sort of story. Very like more of a short story. I kind of get the vibe from, but she obviously steals them for a reason, a wholesome reason, I hope. That's that. And then we have next up a dark ancient being is saved by a little girl in the forest when she's led astray. I kind of saw this image of like a little girl like outreaching her hand to a like dark beast that kind of looked like a shadow sort of dragon. So how cool would it be? I love those relationships too, where it's like a huge beast with like such an innocent child. Not that not in a weird way, of course, but more so in like the dark, big, creature is wanting to care for this innocent babe. So that's that. Next up, we have two lovers with the powers of light and shadow, and they're banished from each other. So these two lovers are basically banished, maybe like heaven and hell, something like that. I was thinking of like shadow and like lightning and storm, some sort of elemental restriction. But light and darkness seems cool in like a dystopian world where it's all darkness or all lightness or something like that. And it's just like everything happened because of these two lovers and they were somehow broken apart. So yeah. Next up, we have two cousins who fall into a puddle that leads to the underworld. I got inspired a little bit from Narnia, the first book in the Narnia Chronicles. I love that book so much. It's so good. And I just, there's like the world between worlds and there's like all these puddles with guinea pigs. There's guinea pigs running along in the little grass, but that's kind of like what inspired me. But that's a kind of cool, fun idea. Okay, The Prince. This is a good one. I hope you've like stayed till this one because this one I was kind of proud of. So the prince is running away from his marriage, only to meet the woman he was supposed to marry, a woman who happened to also be his assassin. How cool! Like the prince runs away because he was about to marry a girl he didn't want to, but it turns out like that girl was supposed to marry him to kill him. And then he ends up running away, which is a good thing. But then maybe they like learn about each other. I don't know. Something like that. Okay, next we have bored, drunk students stumble into a graveyard and find their names on a tombstone. This one was low-key like right up my alley. I love books that kind of seem like this and just like very like mystical, ghosty, sort of shadowy. Things are just untangible and it's all like gloomy and like just like weird. I love those sorts of books. Oh my gosh. Okay, next up. A struggling writer is cursed by a ghost who claims he is her lover. This is interesting. Kind of inspired by Cassandra Clare's Last Hour series, where there's the character Jessie and Lucy, who's the character. She is a writer and then she falls in love with a ghost. But perhaps this, maybe like the writer is writing a story about two lovers and then that's them. I don't know, something like that. It's kind of weird, messed up, but hey, it's a book idea. There you go. Okay, next up we have a pirate son who saves a merman boy from the nets. Because usually it's the mermaid saving the pirate, right? Or Prince Eric, whatever. I would like to see a pirate saving like a mermaid or a merman. I think that would be so cool. And yeah, that's that one. Next up, we have an artist who falls in love with the girl in his painting. This seems like more of a short novella sort of thing where someone gets so obsessed, like the painter gets so obsessed with their artwork and like so attached to the character they've painted that, sorts of things blur, like reality and fiction blur. Like I think that would be such an interesting read. I love objective, like weird stories like this. Like this sort of idea reminds me of Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, which is my favorite book. So I love ideas like this. Okay, next up we have a two-faced scholar who takes his class on a sinister excursion to another world. How cool would that be? Like, kind of reminds me of Snape. Someone who would like just do something weird and like it's not who you seem. Like, where do they go? But then again, it kind of reminds me of the Magic School Bus. Is that what it's called? I forgot the theme song. But anyways, last one. We have a deaf pianist who can see notes instead of hear them, or like they can sort of see notes in their mind as colors or as visions. And I did get inspired from Project O, which I'm actually writing at the moment. Did some writing on that last night and I'm really excited. I'm actually so in a good place with this book. So that was kind of inspired by Project O. But that's all of them. I literally don't know how many there are, but I had a lot of fun just talking about everything and just seeing if I actually want to know how many they are so I can put it in the title of the video. Give me 1 second. Oh my gosh, literally 20. I was right. Wow. That feels like a surreal moment. I'm so smart. Sorry. I had so much fun just talking about my ideas and I hope you got inspired or just enjoyed kind of just talking about it and just letting me spiel about some ideas I have. And I literally just came up with all of these, or most of them, just like on the spot. So if you want some more book ideas, come to me, but take them as you will. Include some of these tropes, some of these characters in your books, and let me know how you feel, or maybe just write a short story about these premises, I think. Anyways, again, definitely check out my Instagram. I post there so frequently if you want updates on about my book, about like what I'm reading, about blah blah, about everything. It's on my Instagram. And also Discord. Y'all, we are upping the Discord game. I write there every single week on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday, 6 p.m. EST. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be changing that because uni's coming up, but I'll keep you guys updated. But just know, if you want to find a writing buddy, someone to write with, if you've always wanted a writing friend, go to Discord, because it's a space I built for you guys so you guys can come together and get inspired from each other. But anyways, I hope you're inspired from this video, and I hope to see you in my next writing podcast. Bye, everyone!